It's regarding clarification required when it comes to eating with left hand. Now, when using knife and fork, we use the fork with our left hand. Is that okay? As we're not touching the food with left hand.
Okay, so the premise of your question there, I didn't catch the questioner's name, but the premise of your question was that there is something unbecoming of the left hand because of other usages, etc., within one's overall hygiene. That is a potential wisdom of this, if you like, prophetic teaching. But just more broadly, one of the things that we find the Prophet ﷺ doing is كَانَ يُعْجِبْهُ التَّيَمُّنُ. He used to like using his right for all good things, for giving, for taking, for receiving, for kind of entering the mosque, etc. And one of the wisdoms which often strikes us about the eating aspect is not just about basic hygiene. It's about kind of how you mentally relate to that action or that deed. So when you're kind of entering the mosque with your right foot, it's not because there's something unclean about your left foot, right? But actually you're creating a mental association with that deed. This is something, Abid, I say to myself implicitly, through action I'm saying to myself, Abid, this is something good. I'm reminding it's a positive reinforcement of that action. Right? I know it's good anyway, but through this, it's a physical reinforcement of that. And with eating, it's a physical reinforcement that this is a ni'mah of Allah. It's a blessing of Allah. I'm feeling, positive emotions towards my Maker who is sustained me with this. And even the dua that's said afterwards, we say, Alhamdulillah الذي أطعمني هذا ورزقنيه من غير حول مني ولا قوة. Whose all praise and thanks be to Allah who's fed me this food. And this is something which I myself could never have received of my own accord, right? It's a sense of feeling iftiqar, the sense of impoverishment before Allah and gratitude. So it's actually becomes an act of ubudiyah. And of course, there's a broader point, which is we generally also try and do things following the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, out of love for him and admiration and kind of having this sense of, like a spiritual connection of sorts. So that's another reason to do it. So it's reasoning and wisdoms are layered. So long as we're not told by the Prophet ﷺ, this is the reason, we shouldn't be hasty in jumping to conclusions, this is the reasoning, and therefore it's not applicable, then should we do something else? Because this is us projecting or kind of hypothesizing what the reasoning might be, so we should kind of follow it as much as we can.
Easy solution. What I normally do is use my fork in my right hand.
Yep, I mean, that's what I do as well.
Okay, excellent. And some people are left-handed. What can they do?
Yeah, so to be clear, using one's left hand, when eating, is not something haram, according to the mass majority of scholars. It's something which some of them will say is makruh. Some viewers might be thinking of this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ had an interaction with someone who kind of feigned an inability of using their left hand, and the Prophet ﷺ said something, quite, if you like, firm in response. But the scholars who are shurah al-hadith, from the classical era, who commented on the hadith literature, they stated that this was a specific instance where there was someone either from the munafiqeen community or a particular opponent who himself was kind of showing hostility in other ways, and he then said this as well. And so this was the interaction. So it's not applicable to all people. It is permissible to eat with one's left hand, according to the majority of scholars. It's just better to do so with one's right. And of course, something, inshallah, more beloved to God. And Allah knows best.
Excellent. And when it comes to the adab of Islam, when we give things, take things, shake hands, it's always best to be done with right hand.
It's always best.